So I did predict this. A guy who can barely put together an intelligent sentence has now won the GOP primary in the state of Georgia for the U.S. Senate. He won the Republican primary. He will face off with Reverend Raphael Warnock, U.S. Senator currently. When approached about the mass shooting and gun violence in America, this is what the potential U.S. Senator had to say.
Hey, Bonner Roger with CNN.
I know.
Do you support any new gun laws in the wake of this Texas shooting?
Do what now?
Do you support new gun laws in the wake of this Texas shooting?
What I like to do is see it and everything and stuff. I like to see it and everything.
A favorite New Jersey
Thank
trip?
you.
What I like to do is see it. I want to see it. What? Let me tell you what's really happening here. Herschel Walker has not received instructions on what to say. That's why he had no answer that was even appropriate to the question. Even if you disagree with the answer, typically a politician has an answer appropriate to the question. He couldn't even do that because he has not been given instruction. There's a reason why he won the Republican primary yesterday. I want you to be reminded of a few things out of the state of Georgia. Not only is he a Trump-endorsed candidate, he's also a very popular sports figure. But those things alone did not secure this for him. Remember, Donald Trump also endorsed Purdue to win the gubernatorial primary. That didn't work. He endorsed Vernon Jones into Congress. That didn't work. So it's not just the endorsement of Trump or the popularity of his name. It's also the reality that everyone who voted for him in Georgia, they know good and damn well he will simply be a surrogate for whatever the hell they tell him to do. He has no backbone. He has no integrity. He has no independent volition whatsoever in the political space in particular. Walker, backed by former President Donald Trump, is one of the party's top fundraisers. I'm talking about in the whole country, as the GOP seeks to regain control of the upper chamber after losing both of Georgia's U.S. Senate seats January 2021 runoffs. The first-time candidate celebrity status and a campaign that has largely avoided public events and non-friendly media interviews prevailed in a crowded six-way race to face Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock in November. So let me remind people of how Herschel won. Herschel Walker beat a lot of Republicans. One of those Republicans is the Commissioner of Agriculture, already a statewide elected official. He slaughtered him. He beat a current statewide GOP elected official with ease. He never participated in a debate. He never engaged in a serious interview. All of his lies about graduating from college, top of the class, his issues with his background, his issues with his businesses, all of that was well known to everybody that voted for him. Now you may say, well, in a general it would be different because obviously this guy compared to Raphael Warnock, come on, right? Okay, I want you to remember that GOP turnout in the Georgia primary was 3 times higher than Democratic turnout. That means that they have a hyper turnout. Typically when a primary has a hyper turnout, it translates into a hyper turnout for Democrats. Now, why do you think Democrats have such a low turnout? Could it be because Democrats or those who vote left-leaning are not excited? Could it be because the popularity or the brand of DC and Biden and Harris not great right now among those on the left? Yes, all of that becomes an anchor to the ship in the political world. All right, David, thoughts?
I'm still happy that Herschel Walker's the nominee because I think Republicans, you know Georgia better than anybody else. Republicans have been counting on picking up the Georgia Senate seat as part of their math for regaining control of the US Senate. Same thing with Pennsylvania. When you look at what the Republicans have done with their nominees in Pennsylvania and in Georgia and the strong candidates the Democrats have, I think the odds keep going back towards Democrats maintaining control of the US Senate and possibly expanding it. Yes, there's a lot of work the Democrats are still gonna have to do with a Herschel Walker who's not gonna participate in debates, who's not gonna say much, and he's gonna simply get to try to define Warnock as some sort of extremist. Democrats still have got to get the message out about Herschel Walker, but I think think Democrats should be pleased when they see a guy like Herschel Walker win the nomination to be the Republican nominee for US Senate in Georgia.
I would be more comfortable with that analysis if Georgia was actually a blue state. I think there's an assumption that Georgia flipped blue, as obviously there was a lot of propaganda that said we flipped Georgia. All right, that was the national narrative. Georgia has not flipped. Georgia happens to have 2 United States senators that are Democrats, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Both of them are dear friends of mine, but Georgia has not flipped. Remember, Georgia still has a Republican governor, Republican lieutenant governor, Republican secretary of state, a Republican House, a Republican Senate. It still is majority Republican with their county commissioners, the sheriffs, and the list goes on and on. How did Ossoff and Warnock win? They won because of a few dynamics. Number one, you actually did have hyper turnout of Democrats. You had an excited base. You also had a depressed base with Republican voters in Georgia because Donald Trump and his surrogates said things like the election is rigged. They said this during the runoffs. They said don't vote until there's an audit because these Chinese voting machines are rigged. All right, that created, according to the survey that was done after the election, that created a 4% drop in conservative participation. Warnock and Ossoff won within those margins of the people that were conservatives who stayed home. They're not making that mistake again. So they got some work to do. Democrats have a lot of work to do to make sure they can defeat a person that once again has absolutely no backbone whatsoever. He'll fit right in to DC.